Hey, you legislators!
We are not your incubators!
Hey, you legislators!
We are not your incubators!
Hey!
Can you explain the outfit?
I think it's fairly relevant what it is. It is obviously a handmaiden outfit from the Handmaid's Tale, and it's a symbol of oppression against women. And that's why we're wearing it today, because the abortion laws in the north of Ireland are a legal oppression against women.
The chants proved the least contentious part of today's pro-choice protest by the socialist feminist group Rosa, because euphoria over last week's abortion reform referendum result in Ireland
Change is coming.
soon turned into open defiance.
We demand abortion rights!
Publicly, they'd promised to take abortion pills delivered by a robot, challenging Northern Ireland's strict abortion laws. Due to the security situation in Northern Ireland, at the request of the police, this officer's face has been obscured.
So I'd ask you to not bring the robot out.
As the police issued a warning, there have been prosecutions over abortion pills in the recent past. Counter-demonstrators gave a flavour of just how contentious an issue this remains in Northern Ireland.
And when I've come down here and I've looked at all the age of most of these protesters, they haven't very much experience of life. And it's just totally sickened me.
Our laws matter because every life matters, and if someone is threatening to break the law, that is an issue for the PSNI in Northern Ireland. That's why we have a police service here to uphold our laws in protecting lives.
And then amidst the throng of cameras, including those of the police, reaching down to the mini remote-controlled robot bearing, we were told, a packet of abortion pills, the first of 3 women openly swallowed them.
1, 2, 3, 4!
I've taken this in defiance of the extremely outdated, medieval, anti-choice laws that exist in Northern Ireland. We're not willing, in the wake of the victory for the repeal referendum, to be left behind any longer.
Making a plea to the Irish public to support the referendum.
Earlier, a few miles away, we heard from Kelly, a women's rights activist and mother of 2, who 2 years ago, having suffered previous miscarriages and deteriorating mental health, travelled to England to have an abortion.
But it's really the wider context that really made me feel very depressed about it, very anxious, and just really understanding what that sense of stigma felt like. Knowing that if I had undertaken that procedure myself, for example, here at home, I would have been a criminal. I could have faced up to life imprisonment.
We want to make sure that there's a lawyer with her before she's going to be answering any questions.
There were no arrests today, but the police followed as the protesters set off on a journey across Northern Ireland, a part of the UK where abortion is only allowed if a woman's life is at risk or there's a permanent or serious risk to her physical or mental health. Last week's Irish referendum has certainly given fresh impetus to groups like this calling for reform here in Northern Ireland. But it's not just in Northern Ireland. In Westminster, pressure on the Prime Minister to intervene on this issue has been growing since Friday's vote. Some senior Tory MPs have joined political calls for reform. Labour says it's a test of Theresa May's feminist credentials. She says it remains a devolved matter, fearful no doubt of alienating the party her fragile administration relies upon for support. Northern Ireland's DUP, strong opponents of any abortion law reform.
There's been 54 votes on Brexit in our Parliament. 49 of them have been won by 10 or fewer votes. That's how much a knife-edge situation is in the Commons at the moment. I don't think that she's going to put that in any danger by trying to push through abortion.
The right to choose!
And in Northern Ireland, the DUP are not the only party whose policy position favours keeping the status quo. The argument goes that you'll be looking increasingly out of step with the rest of the UK and indeed now soon to be the Republic.
I take the point that you make that that's the view, but I don't get the reality of that. We're a member-led organisation with thousands of members across the north of Ireland. They have sent their representatives to a party conference and they overwhelmingly endorsed that we remain a pro-life party.
And even if they wanted to change abortion law in Northern Ireland, remember, power sharing collapsed here. There's no assembly in place to make it happen.
We know that this is a severe human rights violation that's been stated by international human rights bodies. And for me, the British government while we remain in this limbo, they have no excuse. They really need to act to change things.
Earlier this week, there were others demonstrating in Belfast, sensing perhaps, in the wake of last week's referendum, a moment to seize the agenda. Well, it'd be interesting to see what, if any, action the police take in this case. The PSNI said today that a number of pills had been handed over voluntarily, as well as one of those miniature robots. But in legal terms, it is illegal to have these pills, to take these pills, if the intent is to cause a miscarriage. So the police are going to be reviewing this case, and I should state that none of the women who took the pills at that protest today were willing to disclose whether they were pregnant or not.
Andy, stagnant Stormont over your shoulder. What about the politics?
Well, once again, as you say, stagnant Stormont. Theresa May insists that this remains a devolved issue, but there is no sign of an imminent return to devolved government here in Northern Ireland. And even if Stormont was to get up and running, it's not clear by any means that there would be a majority of politicians in favour of abortion reform. I think perhaps most significantly in the short term, we're waiting a decision at the UK Supreme Court in exactly 1 week's time, which will determine whether Northern Ireland's abortion laws are in breach of human rights, specifically in relation to abortions where there have been pregnancies involving so-called fatal fetal abnormalities or as a result of rape. So there are going to be many people watching the outcome of that judgment and any implications it might have for reform very closely indeed.